In my hand is the Nothing Headphone 1, and this is an in-depth review from an audio engineer. That's me. You see, Nothing has developed quite the reputation for itself after working with the audiophile community, with people like my friend DMS, who helped save them from releasing the original Nothing Earbuds, which had a disastrous tuning. Since then, they've continually listened to feedback, relied on the audiophile community for measurements and advice, and released some of the best sounding earbuds for the price, often punching way above their class. So when I heard that they were finally coming out with the Nothing Headphone 1, I was excited. Surely, they learned from years of collaboration with the audiophile community and the success and reputation that they gained, and continue on that path, right? In this in-depth immersive review by an audio engineer, you'll find sound samples of its microphone and call quality in various environments, as well as ANC and transparency tests. Additionally, we'll compare its sound quality with the original track and my custom EQ, which is available exclusively to channel members. That's made possible by a wide array of advanced audio equipment and over 20 years of experience as an audio engineer, especially within the live sound field. At the end of this video, you'll find out if the Nothing Headphone 1 is the right fit for you. For the best immersive experience, wear headphones or earbuds in both of your ears, and if you do end up picking the Nothing Headphone 1, please use the link in the description. Let's jump into the first experience with this first song sample licensed on MusicBed. You'll see labels on the screen with details for any test or sample throughout this video. This song is from my personal friend Hannah Parrott. It is mainly string-based, so it'll give you a good sense of the mid-range, warmth, and how each EQ profile handles the high end and the bow rubbing up against the strings and things like that. Nothing is known about their rather bold, transparent, techie, nerdy designs, and like many, I'm a big fan. It truly stands out amongst a sea of minimalistic designs. That continues with the Nothing Headphone 1, but it might be a bit polarizing. First, it has a more blocky design that they say is reminiscent of old school tape decks, which I can definitely see. It's a bold swing, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. I think it'll be polarizing for some. Rounding it off would undoubtedly make it look more normal and modern, but it wouldn't be as risky and loud of a design. I kind of dig it, and the mixture of metal and plastic elements are really nice. I imagine this more rectangular, boxy design allows for far more freedom and optionality in terms of the internal design components and battery capacity. When folded flat, it rests on your body with the design facing outward rather than the ear cups, which I prefer. One thing I don't like is how it reminds me of the Apple AirPods Max with how the cups slap into each other when folded up. At least there's an off switch and a real case for it, which is a soft shell design. And a neat little detail, it features an indent that serves as a subtle callback to their Nothing ear case designs. There are several buttons and a dial on the right ear cup that are worth noting. One is like a paddle switch to move between tracks or fast forward and rewind if you hold it and have a compatible Nothing phone. Another feature is a roller dial that adjusts the volume and serving as a button for play, pause, call, ANC, and transparency mode functions. The other is a button that allows you to perform various tasks, activate an AI assistant, a news briefing, spatial audio, mic mute, an EQ preset, or the most interesting one to me, channel hop. The channel hop feature is a playlist that's ready to go whenever you want. You create a playlist using your streaming service of choice, such as Spotify or Apple Music, and add the track that you want to channel hop. And then it's ready to go with just a click. You click on it and it'll start the playlist. No need to bring out your phone or anything. It's pretty cool, but it would be even cooler if it was a more randomized feature that takes your top tracks within that channel hop and shuffles between them instead of playing them in the order that you added or organized them in. Without this randomization option, this goes from an awesome feature to just neat, so I hope they adjust this in the future. Comfort-wise, these are fantastic. The clamp isn't too strong, it has a significant amount of spring to it, allowing it to conform to your head really quite nicely. The cushion at the top is comfortable despite it looking sparse in appearance, and the ear cups conform well without squishing into uselessness. The ear cup depth is roughly an inch, and I haven't experienced any discomfort in my ears or my head, even after wearing them for over 10 hours straight.
So I will say that they also work pretty well, at least for me, with glasses on, but I am hearing reports from a lot of my peers and friends saying that when they use glasses and they have the bass turned up and it breaks the seal and the bass gets like really crazy and pumpy and like it dies down and stuff, I personally can't replicate this, but at least I want you to know that other people are having some sort of issue with that. I just can't verify or can't replicate it.
There are a few details though that I'm not as big of a fan of, but am fine with. First, there are these little indents along the headband that look unfinished, and not in a cool way. They don't have any sort of design function like indicating which side is left or anything that I could tell. The indicator for which side is which is located on the inside using text and is indicated by a red accent square on the side that has the controls. Second, the transparent design and details appear somewhat too simple. It's not as textured and interesting as their phones. It seems like it's missing another layer or two of extra fun accents. What's particularly disappointing is that Nothing didn't include any lights on the headphones like the glyph interface lighting on their smartphone. I know that they're trying to move away from it on their phones, but it would add that extra level of techie coolness to it that aligns with their brand rather than seeming out of place for an add-on as it has been for other brands. Samsung. It could also provide a functional benefit such as feedback when paired, acting as actual lights as you walk around in the dark, or indicating that it's charging or its battery level. I think this is a big missed opportunity and I hope they add it to the next generation. Speaking of the battery, let's discuss that, but first let's listen to another song sample. For this song, listen to the low end, the reverb from the vocals and the snare, the sharpness of the hi-hat, and the stereo spread from the wah-wah sound that goes between the left and right channels, and let me know what you notice in the comments. Battery life has been quite impressive on the Nothing Headphone 1, and it's honestly been really hard to kill off. Nothing states that it lasts for 80 hours without ANC on and 35 hours with ANC on. I don't have precise measurements to verify that, but I can confidently say that I've walked around wearing this for many hours, run all my tests and samples, and even fallen asleep wearing them a few times just this past week, and I still have battery left. The battery life is more than exceptional. They connect to your phone using Bluetooth 5.3, which means it does not support Auracast, but does support dual connection to two devices simultaneously. Surprisingly, it manages to have the most stable connection across my house than any other earbud or headphone, despite it not being Bluetooth 6.0. I don't know how they achieved this, but I've been able to go through multiple doors, floors, and walls from the very ends of my house without even a hint at a dropout, which most other headphones would if pushed to that extreme. Usually they handle walking across my house, but not with all the doors closed. A headphone jack is available if you prefer a low latency route, but it requires a charge and for them to be on in order to have any output. You also cannot use it while it's charging. You can, however, get audio over USB-C if you prefer that route. From what I was able to test, I haven't been able to get my custom EQ to persist on the headphones when using the wired method in either case. Instead, it sounds like it's using the default EQ when connected over Bluetooth. This is actually a notable improvement over most Bluetooth headphones, which often use the raw sound of the driver without any digital processing to achieve the sound that you typically hear when using them wirelessly. It also supports LDAC and high-res audio for compatible Android devices, achieving a notable improvement in audio fidelity. However, please note that it does not resolve any tuning issues, but only reveal them in a higher fidelity. Codecs do not make the sound, it only makes the tuning more apparent. Proper tuning makes the sound. The app allows you to move between ANC and transparency modes. There's also support for spatial audio if that's something you're into. Honestly, I'm not because it sounds like a poorly treated room, but you know what? You do you. There's a bass enhancement feature if you want more low end, and their EQ, which has a simple option and an advanced one that's the best out there, as it allows you to adjust it in a far more granular way than any other company. The only thing I would ask for is for them to bump it up to at least 10 bands of EQ instead of 8, allow the frequency range to move freely instead of being locked to a range, and remove the preamp compression that adjusts the volume when you change the EQ. So yes, the drop in volume remains when you start adjusting. Very frustrating for someone like me who has done a lot of mixing. Otherwise, it's great. This track is filled with a lot. Listen to the sub frequencies, the high end from the snare and the hi-hat type sounds, and the mid-range from the synth. Now it's time for the test. First, the gaming latency test. The Nothing Headphone 1 does have a low latency mode, so we'll compare the difference between the normal mode and the low latency mode. As you can tell, the normal mode is shockingly bad for gaming. The latency is it's awful. With low latency turned on, it matches most other Bluetooth headphones and earbuds in their low latency modes. That means that they're fine, but not for anything you want to use for serious gameplay. For that, you'll want to use it in wired mode. Outside of gaming, latency is not an issue for media consumption, regardless of the mode that's used. For this track, listen to how clear the bass guitar is, as well as the electric guitar and how bright the cymbals are. I could regurgitate some marketing points from Nothing, but I'm more interested in objective tests, so let's hear how well the mic performs in a Zoom call, a phone call, and in different environments. As usual, you'll see which scenario is being tested by looking at the label on the screen. Here is a baseline sample of what the microphone on the Apple MacBook Pro sounds like if you're on a Zoom call. Here's what it would sound like if you were on a Zoom call and you are using the Nothing Headphone 1 for your microphone. Here's what it would sound like if you were to receive an HD phone call from someone who is wearing the Nothing Headphones 1. How do you think the microphone sounds like for a phone call? Okay, here is a microphone test in a simulated windy environment with the Nothing Headphones 1. How do you think it sounds? Here is a microphone test in a simulated cafe environment at just about 80 decibels. How do you think it sounds? Are there any details or observations that you had from the test? Let us all know in the comments. For the song, pay attention to the clarity of the attack on the acoustic guitar strings and how forward the mid-range is on the body of the guitar and vocals.
I must be singing on my own. I'm still falling out of love with you, and I'm heading for the door, not sure if I'll go through. Memories they take so long to erase. Will they ever even start to fade? I'm on my way.
One of the most critical things with wireless headphones and earbuds is the quality of ANC and transparency. Here are some objective tests to help us gauge its performance and determine how much ANC is accomplishing beyond passive cancellation. Okay, this is a baseline of what the microphone sounds like in the room without any headphones or anything on it. You should be able to actually hear this little transparent watch clicking around on your left ear. So that's what it sounds like as a baseline. Pretty interesting and cool. Now let's put on the headphones. This is what the headphones sound like when they're off. So it's just the passive noise cancellation that's on the headphones in a quiet room. And this is what the headphones sound like with ANC on in a quiet room. And here's what the transparency mode sounds like in a quiet room. Do you hear the clicking of the watch over here on your left ear? Here's a baseline of the microphone with just the fan. I'm doing the Darth Vader thing on accident, but it's with the fan at level 4 on my little fan here. Here is what the Nothing Headphones 1 sound like in a simulated windy environment with no ANC or transparency on. Here's what the noise cancellation sounds like in a simulated windy environment. And here is what the transparency mode sounds like in a simulated windy environment. Here is the baseline for the simulated cafe noise. It's just shy of 80 decibels. here is what a simulated cafe environment would sound like with no ANC or transparency mode on, so it's passive noise cancellation. And here's what a simulated cafe environment would sound like with ANC on. And here is what the transparency mode would sound like in a simulated cafe environment. Now, one interesting point that Nothing mentioned is that the Headphone 1 scans the environment every 1,875 milliseconds, which is a very convoluted way of saying it takes almost 2 seconds for every scan. That's not that fast, which you can hear when switching between modes. Now, despite some exaggerated marketing and some obscure data points for those not paying attention, the ANC is solid. I can use them while cooking with my hood fan on, and I can't hear most of it. Most of the notable sounds around me in everyday use are blocked out enough to not be distracting, especially when listening to some sort of media, and despite processing a bit slower than most, it still functions well enough. Transparency sounds artificial, and body-borne resonance is very apparent. It's like when you plug your ears and talk, and you can kind of hear yourself resonating through your nose and body. It feels a bit unnatural. Otherwise, it's fine. This song is a very mid-range, warm, and soulful track. Listen to her vocals, the electric guitar lines, and the keyboard. Now for one of the most critical parts of any headphone or earbud, the sound quality. While the sound samples provide a better sense of the differences, they're not a 100% translation. However, I'm confident that you've been able to hear some of the interesting differences between the stock tuning and my custom EQs. One of the most glaring issues is a problem within the frequency range that makes things sound honky, boxy, and papery, or like you're speaking into a cup. It's a bizarre issue within the mid-range that I'm shocked that Keft didn't notice and approved. It's blatantly an issue, so much so that everyone that I talked to who had these early for review said something was off about them. Most of these people are not audio people, they're everyday users. And that's the thing that's so bothersome. It seems like Nothing was more interested in being associated with a hype audio brand like Kef, which has a reputation within the audiophile space for not having the best tuning. They're simply overpriced status symbol products. Instead of utilizing the learnings, research, data, and results from 2 years of working with the audiophile community, which they have received for free or at minimal cost, and which has given them a tremendous reputation amongst the audiophile community, they decided to not follow that path. They fixed what wasn't broken so they can slap a Kef logo on a box and headphones, which I'm sure wasn't free or cheap. It's madness. Within the guide Nothing provided to reviewers, there's a ton of marketing nonsense that you can now see from everyone really, with the most groan-worthy of them being tune so it sounds the way that the artist intended. This is one of the most useless marketing lines out there, and every brand is using it. If it was as the artist intended, why do they all sound different from each other? I can assure you, as someone who has been in a band, recorded bands, and mixed live performances, that most Bluetooth headphones and earbuds do not sound the way artists intended, and the Nothing Headphone 1 is no exception. Beyond the mid-range, which emphasizes that telephone frequency, the low end is also interesting. It's strangely not deep enough despite their marketing boasting lower lows. There's something odd to it that lacks tightness and punch. There's a bass boost feature that can sort of help, but I think it introduces more issues than benefits, so I personally keep it off. If you're familiar with kick drums, it's like having a felt beater on instead of a plastic or wood beater. Or imagine a rubber mallet with socks wrapped over it compared to a metal hammer. It's more of a softer thud instead of a precise attack. That makes this less than ideal for more punchy genres of music such as metal, rock, some country, and some electronic music. This is very obvious with drums. The issue on the low end is likely more of a matter of components or capabilities like the driver enclosure and baffling rather than the tuning itself. You can help improve it slightly with EQ, but only to a certain extent. Now, I know this section may seem a bit harsh, and it's more because Nothing is straying from what they've been good at. I want to make it very clear that they should course correct, as this is certainly not the right direction. I hope they listen. However, I can thankfully say that there's an easy solution to most of these problems with EQ, which allows you to get these to a point where they're pretty decent sounding. But first, another song sample. Pay attention to the cymbals, high end, the kick drum's attack, and the bass guitar's warmth.
Is she standing alone, going home, or just hanging around with nothing to do? Summer, loving, give me something. I'm about to lose my mind. 'Cause when I see you, I really think I need you every single summertime.
You've been hearing my custom EQ throughout this video, one through the native advanced EQ in the Nothing X app. This custom EQ is available to channel members and helps support the channel, allowing me to create content like this for you. If you do sign up, you gain access to other custom EQs for other headphones and earbuds, custom wallpapers, and more. Signing up is greatly appreciated. Within this custom EQ, you can hear the major problem frequencies disappear, a slight tightening of the low end, and a bit more energy in the high end. This should make the overall sound more balanced yet more energetic. If you do obtain it by being a channel member, you'll want to A/B test it against another advanced EQ profile that's flat, and be aware that it's slightly quieter than the flat EQ. Therefore, adjusting the volume one click higher when switching to my custom EQ profile and back down when switching back is important for a fair comparison. If you're on Android, I do prefer the way that the wavelet EQ route sounds the most. I think it's just a touch better with more energy despite not having as much fine tuning. It's just kind of how it turned out.
Now, there's always a bonus unlisted video in the description. It has a copywritten song that I can't put in the full video, otherwise it demonetizes everything, and you gotta still make money to pay all the bills and stuff like that. But it's from this cool band called Sleep Token. It will go through the default EQ and the custom EQ, and you'll be able to hear that kind of cuppy, like nasally sound in the difference between the default and custom EQ. So go ahead and check out the song. It's very noticeable during the electric guitar parts towards the end. So check that out.
If you sign up as a channel member and receive my custom EQ, please let me know your thoughts on it, and I'm interested in hearing your feedback on how it balances and enhances the sound for you. This song has a lot of great reverb. Listen to how forward the vocals sound and whether you can hear much of the percussive instruments in the background or if they sound buried. The mid-range can really bring out some of the instruments and sound either honky or kind of like it's sitting in the mix really well. The bass guitar is also a significant part of this song. So should you get the Nothing Headphone 1? If you're the type of person who values aesthetics strongly, I will say that they stand out and make a statement, which can be a lot of fun. If comfort and battery life is of notable importance to you, these are fantastic for that, and I think the fit, finish, and materials are of high quality. The more interesting buttons and dials are also a bit more fun. What may be a bit more difficult is the sound and how much importance it holds for you, and whether or not Nothing adjusts it post-release. At its default tuning, it has several glaring issues that even those who are not audiophiles or those who claim to have a good ear can hear. But if you're the type that likes to tinker with the EQ, or for channel members that have access to my custom EQ, this issue becomes less notable. You can undoubtedly get an enjoyable sound out of these, even if it's not the most ideal sound that you can get. Honestly, outside of that, the ANC and microphones are solid and the transparency is fine. The weakest part of these is the sound, which can be easily alleviated.
Oh, I forgot kind of an important thing. The price. It's $299 across the board, whether it's dollars, pounds, or euros. In USD, that's about $100 or $150 less than some of the flagship options out there from like Sony or Bose. So that's pretty nice.
Now this song has a killer bass line. Pay attention to that, the synth and the vocal reverb. So would I use the Nothing Headphone 1? Despite the sound not being ideal in its stock tuning and there still being some energy, punch, and tightness missing in the low end that I long for even after I've applied my custom EQ, I do have to admit that I enjoy using the Nothing Headphone 1 quite a bit. I know, kind of surprising with how heavy I'm going on this video, but they cross the threshold of sufficient in ANC, transparency, and microphone. The build feels solid and it looks cool and interesting, so I like wearing them. I also like using the dials, and the battery life and range is rock solid, and I can't stress the comfort enough. It's easy to wear these and forget to take them off, unlike other headphones. So yeah, I'd use the Nothing Headphone 1 with my custom EQ. Here's another excellent song that spans a wide range of frequencies. Listen to how the high end and mid range change between the EQ presets. I hope that Nothing takes our feedback into account and makes some notable changes in the next version, and even in this version with software updates if it's possible. This is a very good starting point for their first pair of headphones. They could have started at a much higher position from the start and with less cost to them if they had avoided this nonsensical KEF partnership and continued doing what was working before. But you know what? Lesson learned. I do feel like learning will be the big theme that Nothing finds them in this current cycle of products. They're trying to swing hard for the fences with polarizing design decisions and execution. The Nothing Phone 3 design, the cassette design of the Headphone 1, and the KEF partnership make that apparent. Some of these decisions may work, and some definitely will not, but my concern is that Nothing is looking at being a hype beast brand that seeks clout, attention, and layers of heavy doses of marketing nonsense instead of creating the best products that they can. That's honestly not entirely surprising. That's kind of what they've said that they've been from the start by saying that they're not going after the enthusiast technical crowd. So maybe shame on me, but it's also hard to see how great of a job they've done with their earbuds and see them not execute on the same level here. Let's hope they find the balance of being friggin' cool for its aesthetics while also making some friggin' amazing products. I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. So Nothing, please make the Headphone 2 even better. Save your money on these unnecessary partnerships and listen to the audiophile community that has so generously helped you. I know you want to be different, polarizing, and daring, but not everything that is working needs to be fixed. Find new aspects of a product to be daring with. This song is an arena stomper that throws a broad spectrum of frequencies at you. Pay attention to how the high-end and mid-range options differ between EQs. Some will sound shrill in the high-end where there is a hi-hat, and some will sound hollow from the scooped-out mid-range. This review was made possible with a review sample provided by Nothing weeks before publishing. While it should be obvious, Nothing has no editorial input, control, or prior evaluation before publishing of this review. No compensation has been provided to me by them for this review. This video is supported by viewers like you who watch and use the affiliate links and channel members. So thank you, and thanks for watching This Is Tech Today. Until next time.